More damaging news about Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense, Pete, the next round is on the House, Hegseth. That Hegseth is a drunk does not seem to bother Republicans. That Hegseth is a serial philanderer who cheated on every wife also does not seem to bother the party of family values. And now more alarming news from NBC about Hegseth that is not contained in the FBI background check. And is anyone surprised by that? The Trump transition team was so arrogant that at first they tried to say that there would be no background checks on their nominees, that they would use a private security firm for that. When that excuse didn't fly, they went back to their Brett Kavanaugh playbook, used the FBI to sort out and destroy bad information and release an incomplete report that Republicans can then wield like a cudgel. And lo and behold, that's what happened. Hegseth was actually humiliated by every Democratic senator on the committee, whether it be Tammy Duckworth showing how utterly incompetent he is, or Senator Hirono showing his unwillingness to defend the Constitution. Or then again, Karen Gillibrand from New York showing him lying about quotas in the military. None of it mattered to Republicans, especially Angus King exposing Hegseth's willingness to allow torture. Republicans always seem to have a soft spot for torture. And when questioned by Tim Kaine, Hegseth kept using the claim, anonymous false claims. Even when confronted by Tim Kaine that the accusations of his drunkenness were not anonymous, Hegseth stuck to his guns.
Many of your work colleagues have said that you show up for work under the influence of alcohol or drunk. I know you've denied that, but you would agree with me, right, that if that was the case, that would be disqualifying for somebody to be Secretary of Defense.
Senator, those are all anonymous false claims, and the totality
they're not anonymous.
The letters on the record here.
They're not anonymous.
On the record,
we've seen records with names
Vets
attached
for Freedom,
to them.
Concerned Vets for America, and Fox News attributing to me working hard every day on behalf of
One of your
mission.
colleagues said that you got drunk at an event at a bar and chanted, "Kill all Muslims."
Well, today NBC News is reporting a claim that is anything but anonymous. They're reporting that senators received an affidavit Tuesday from the former sister-in-law of Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth, in which she says his behavior caused his second wife to fear for her safety. The receipt of the affidavit comes after Senate Armed Services Committee staffers were in contact with Hegseth's former sister-in-law for several days. They further report that the former sister-in-law, Danielle Hegseth, submitted the affidavit in response to a January 18th letter from Senator Jack Reed, Democrat of Rhode Island, seeking a statement attesting to your personal knowledge about Mr. Hegseth's fitness to occupy this important position. The affidavit is a bombshell to the Hegseth nomination. Watch this NBC report.
Yesterday, the Republican-led Senate Armed Services Committee voted along party lines and sent his nomination to the full Senate for confirmation. Of course, that was before these new details emerged against Hegseth, a former Fox News host and military veteran. Joining us now, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin, who has new reporting on this. Julie, tell us more about these allegations here.
Well, the allegations so far are in this affidavit that are being viewed by senators. They detail potential abuse that Samantha Hegseth experienced at the hands of Pete Hegseth. I want to be clear that we were in contact with Samantha, who is, of course, the second wife of Pete Hegseth, his ex-wife, who said that she has not experienced physical abuse at the hands of her ex-husband, who is now days away potentially from being confirmed by the Senate to be Trump's Secretary of Defense. It's a major position. There were questions about his qualification before all of these allegations came to light. We've been working on this for weeks. You'll remember that in his confirmation hearing last Tuesday, there was a moment in which the Republican chairman, Roger Wicker, entered into the record a document from his divorce with Samantha Hegseth in which both of them signed that they were not victims of any domestic abuse. In this case now, with the signed affidavit by Samantha Hegseth and Pete Hegseth's former sister-in-law, Danielle, she says that Samantha had told her that during the course of the marriage, Pete Hegseth would act in a way toward her that made her fear for her safety. Now, she says, by the way, in this signed affidavit, signed by her on the record that is currently being reviewed by senators, that she knows of some of these allegations to be true because of her personal interactions with Pete Hegseth, who she described as aggressive, Cingley. This changes the game. Sure, it is Danielle Hegseth, it is an ex-sister-in-law, but at the same time, She's clearly somebody who was a confidant of Samantha Hegseth during this time. Jack Reed gave us a statement exclusively this morning saying that they are so disturbing that he wants them to take a break, take a pause, and try and see, first of all, why none of this information made it into the FBI background check. We know that the FBI had interviewed Danielle Hegseth. We reported last week that none of this information or anything having to do with his ex-wives was in that report provided by Trump transition officials to senators who were considering his nomination. These are all questions that Democrats are asking, but Republicans are asking them too. And of course, that is key because Republicans control this chamber here in Clay.
You'll notice that the main Republican response to this damning information is to just push through the vote before the fallout from this affidavit can have an impact. To no one's surprise, they want to sweep it under the rug by rushing a vote. And all of this raises the question, is there even one Republican female senator for whom this will be a bridge too far? Joni Ernst has already voted to support Hegseth. What about Susan Collins? Will she conclude that she's confident that Hegseth has learned his lesson? What about Lisa Murkowski, who does not have to worry about being primaried? And how sad is it that it's simply a matter to be taken for granted that this will certainly not disturb any Republican male senators? Can you imagine Tom Cotton drawing a line in the sand over this? That's laughable. The key question is this: does this affidavit provide cover for Mitch McConnell to take a stand and stick it to Trump? And how bizarre has politics become that we now have to depend on a son of the Confederacy, Mitch McConnell, to defend democracy? I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.